Long before the pharaohs raised the first pyramid, before Sumerian priests inscribed their earliest tablets, there was another world, older, grander, and almost completely erased from history. Beneath the turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf and the shifting sands that surround it, evidence of an ancient civilization lies buried. A civilization that may have given rise to every culture that came after it. Its story is not written in books or carved into stone walls, but hidden within ruins, myths, and fragments of memory scattered across continents. This is the story of the world's first great civilization, one that vanished without a trace. The first clues appeared by accident. In the 1990s, archaeologists studying the coasts of Oman and Bahrain noticed unusual patterns on satellite images, faint geometric shapes beneath the desert. When they investigated, they found foundations, streets, and stone walls so ancient that no known timeline could contain them. At first, these were dismissed as natural formations. But then came the pottery, thick, hand-fired, and painted with strange spiral designs. Carbon dating revealed a shocking truth. These artifacts were more than 9,000 years old, nearly twice as old as the earliest Egyptian dynasties. This finding defied every accepted model of human history. Civilization, historians believe, began around 3000 BCE in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Yet these ruins predated that by millennia. If true, it meant humanity's first cities were not in the Fertile Crescent of Iraq, but along the ancient shores of a now-submerged land. The discovery ignited debate, controversy, and disbelief. Could people that ancient have built planned cities? Could they have traded, farmed, and mapped the stars long before writing even existed? Local legends had long spoken of a land called Dilmun, a paradise described in Sumerian myths as a place where the sun rises, untouched by sickness or death. For centuries, Dilmun was thought to be mythical, a poetic metaphor for Eden. But what if those myths were memories? What if the tales of a lost paradise were echoes of a real place, one that drowned beneath the sea thousands of years ago? The idea sounded like fantasy, but the evidence was growing and the puzzle was just beginning to take shape. Geologists studying the region soon discovered something extraordinary. The Persian Gulf had not always been a sea. 10,000 years ago, it was a vast river valley, fertile, green, and fed by ancient rivers flowing from Mesopotamia, Iran, and Arabia. It was quite literally a cradle of life. But around 6000 BCE, melting ice from the last ice age caused sea levels to rise dramatically. Over time, the valley flooded, swallowing entire landscapes, and possibly an entire civilization. Underwater sonar mapping has revealed ghostly outlines of river channels, settlements, and what appear to be harbor structures now buried beneath the Gulf's shallow waters. If these patterns are indeed man-made, they would represent one of the earliest urban systems in human history, a civilization that thrived before Egypt, before Sumer, before any kingdom we know. What makes this civilization even more mysterious is its sophistication. Archaeologists uncovered remnants of irrigation systems, drainage channels, and wells precisely engineered to distribute water across large agricultural areas. The people who lived here had mastered farming in harsh desert climates, proving they understood both nature and engineering at a level far ahead of their time. They weren't nomads. They were builders, planners who shaped the land with intention. Artifacts from the region revealed trade networks stretching hundreds, perhaps thousands, of miles. Shells from the Indian Ocean, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, and copper from Oman were all found in the same layer of excavation. Whoever these people were, they were connected, merchants and explorers navigating seas and deserts when most of the world still lived in scattered tribes. Their knowledge of navigation and commerce suggests the world's first trading civilization. But here's where the mystery deepens. There are no written records, no royal tombs, no inscriptions naming their rulers or gods. Every trace of their identity has been washed away. Historians call them the Gulf Civilization, though even that name feels temporary, a placeholder for something we don't yet understand. They seem to appear out of nowhere in the archaeological record, only to vanish just as suddenly, leaving behind a silence that has lasted thousands of years. What could cause such an advanced culture to disappear so completely? Was it a natural disaster, a flood, an earthquake, or a sudden climate shift? Or did something else happen? Something more complex? War, famine, or perhaps migration so vast that the civilization dissolved into others, their memory scattered across continents? The more scientists uncover, the more questions emerge. And every new discovery seems to whisper the same haunting idea, that history, as we know it, might be missing its very first chapter. As researchers expanded their search, they began uncovering patterns that revealed a surprisingly organized society. These ancient people built their homes in tight clusters, using stone foundations and baked clay walls, materials chosen not by chance but for strength and insulation against heat. Streets were straight, aligned in grids that mirrored the direction of prevailing winds, a sign that they understood both design and climate control. Some structures appeared to serve communal purposes: large halls, open courtyards, and wells that provided shared water. This was not a primitive village. It was a planned community, one designed by minds that valued structure, cooperation, and long-term survival. Even more astonishing were the remnants of workshops and kilns. Here, artisans crafted tools, ornaments, and intricate pottery with consistent patterns. The spiral motifs carved into their artifacts seemed symbolic, perhaps representing water, the sun, or time itself. Similar patterns later appeared in distant cultures, from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley, suggesting a cultural lineage or shared ancestry. Could these symbols have originated from this lost civilization? The continuity is too precise to ignore. It's as though this forgotten culture planted artistic seeds that would later bloom across multiple ancient worlds. Traces of metallurgy were also found: small copper fragments, slag, and smelting pits buried deep beneath layers of sand. These findings indicate they were among the earliest metalworkers on Earth. By heating ores in clay furnaces, they extracted copper for tools and ornaments, perhaps even for trade. The ability to control fire and temperature for metal production suggests not only intelligence, but also experimentation, the foundation of scientific thinking. They were innovators centuries ahead of their time, quietly shaping technologies that would define human progress. The evidence of trade continued to grow. Archaeologists discovered beads made from lapis lazuli, a gemstone found only in the mountains of Afghanistan, over 1,000 miles away. Other findings included obsidian from Anatolia and shells from the Arabian Sea. These artifacts proved beyond doubt that they maintained vast trading networks, connecting regions that otherwise seemed isolated in prehistory. This was not accidental exchange. It was organized commerce, the birth of global trade. And at its center stood this forgotten civilization, bridging east and west long before written history began. But how did they navigate such distances? There were no maps, no compasses, at least none we've found. Yet, evidence suggests they were skilled seafarers, building boats strong enough to cross the Arabian Sea. Fragments of waterproofed wood and traces of bitumen, an early tar-like substance, were found near coastal settlements. Ancient Sumerian records later spoke of traders arriving from the land across the waters. Could those traders have been the last descendants of this vanished world? If so, their maritime legacy may have inspired the very birth of civilization along the Tigris and Euphrates. Beyond trade, the civilization showed a remarkable connection to the heavens. Many structures were aligned with celestial bodies, particularly the rising and setting points of the sun and key stars like Sirius and Aldebaran. This precision reveals not random construction, but astronomical awareness. These early people observed the sky not only for worship, but for agriculture and navigation. They tracked solstices, monsoons, and lunar cycles, developing a calendar system thousands of years before Egypt's. Their cities were not just homes. They were observatories built into the earth itself. Some researchers argue that their understanding of astronomy influenced later cultures. The layout of their settlements bears striking resemblance to early Sumerian temples and even the Indus Valley city grids. Could the builders of this lost civilization have migrated after the floods, carrying their knowledge to new lands? If so, they may have been the missing link connecting all early civilizations, a shared origin point lost to the sea. Another remarkable aspect of their culture was balance between nature, technology, and spirituality. Their irrigation systems followed the natural contours of the land, avoiding damage to soil or overuse of resources. This harmony with nature suggests a philosophy, perhaps even a belief system built on coexistence. Unlike later empires that sought dominance, this civilization seems to have thrived through adaptation, understanding that survival required working with nature, not against it. In recent years, underwater archaeologists have discovered what appear to be harbor structures and breakwaters beneath the Persian Gulf, evidence of organized coastal life. These underwater ruins may have been trade ports or sacred sites dedicated to sea deities. If true, they reveal a society that embraced both land and water as vital elements of life. The sea that eventually destroyed them may once have been their greatest ally. Every discovery adds a new layer to their mystery. How did such advanced knowledge exist so early in human history? And why does this civilization remain absent from historical records? The answer may lie in the very force that made them prosper: the sea. The same waters that nourished their trade and agriculture eventually rose to swallow their world, erasing their history beneath waves and silence. Their brilliance, once the light of an early age, was extinguished, leaving behind only whispers of what might have been the true beginning of human civilization. Archaeologists began to piece together fragments of pottery, tools, and dwellings from the pre-dynastic period in Egypt, only to find traces of a far older culture, one that predated Egyptian civilization by several millennia. These discoveries hinted that Egypt's rise wasn't sudden, but built upon something more ancient. A forgotten people with technology and artistry that seemed beyond their time. But who were they? The deeper researchers dug, the more the evidence pointed to a civilization that flourished long before the Nile kingdoms we know, one erased so thoroughly that even history forgot their name. The dating shocked the scientific world. Using advanced radiocarbon methods, researchers found artifacts and structures that could be as old as 10,000 BCE, thousands of years before the pyramids. The implication was staggering. Organized, intelligent societies existed during the Ice Age, when mainstream history claimed humanity was still primitive. Suddenly, textbooks seemed outdated. The boundaries between myth and reality blurred. It was as if ancient legends of lost continents and golden ages weren't fiction at all, but distorted memories of this lost civilization. But there was one site that stood out among all, a place that defied time and logic: Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Hidden beneath layers of soil and rock, this ancient temple complex was unlike anything humanity had built before. Massive stone pillars carved with animals, symbols, and abstract figures stood in perfect alignment. Each weighed up to 20 tons, crafted with precision no primitive society should have achieved. Archaeologists couldn't explain it. Who built it? And why would they intentionally bury it thousands of years later? As excavations at Göbekli Tepe continued, it became clear this was no ordinary settlement. It was a spiritual center, perhaps the world's first temple. Yet it predated agriculture, writing, and the wheel. The site flipped the known order of human progress on its head. Religion and architecture, it seemed, didn't arise after civilization. They created it. This meant humans gathered and worshiped before they even learned to farm. The builders of Gobekli Tepe weren't hunters stumbling into history. They were visionaries shaping it. Researchers soon noticed something stranger. The carvings on Gobekli Tepe's pillars weren't random decorations. They seemed to tell a story, a cosmic one. Some scientists proposed they represented constellations and celestial alignments. When cross-referenced with star maps, certain symbols match the positions of stars from 12,000 years ago, precisely when Earth was emerging from the last ice age. Could this have been a record of astronomical knowledge far older than any known culture possessed? If true, it would mean humanity's first scientists lived here. The idea that ancient humans could observe and record the heavens so accurately shattered conventional timelines. It suggested continuity, that knowledge had been passed down from even older civilizations. The builders of Göbekli Tepe, some theorized, might have been survivors of a lost global culture destroyed by cataclysm. Myths from around the world, the Great Flood, Atlantis, Lemuria, suddenly echoed with new meaning. What if they weren't myths, but warnings from the past? A memory of a world wiped clean by disaster. Scientists began connecting dots between Göbekli Tepe and other mysterious ancient sites. Jericho, Catalhoyuk, Murgar, and Nabta Playa in the Egyptian desert. Each showed sudden leaps in architecture, agriculture, and art, as if civilizations had emerged ready-made. How could multiple societies across continents suddenly develop complex systems without prior stages of evolution? The coincidences were too many. It hinted that they might all share a common root, one mother civilization that spread knowledge before vanishing. As evidence accumulated, debates ignited across academia. Some researchers dismissed these theories as pseudoscience, clinging to established timelines. Others argued that mainstream archaeology feared rewriting human history. Still, the discoveries spoke for themselves. Every new dig revealed something older, something unexplained. The Earth, it seemed, was hiding secrets we weren't yet ready to confront. And the question loomed larger. How could an entire civilization so advanced disappear without a trace? To understand how it vanished, scientists turned to climate data. Around 10,800 BCE, something catastrophic occurred, known as the Younger Dryas event. Global temperatures plunged suddenly, ice sheets expanded again, and massive floods reshaped continents. The cause remains debated: a comet impact, volcanic eruptions, or a solar flare. Whatever it was, it ended an age, and with it perhaps the civilization that had once ruled the Earth. In a matter of years, nature erased their cities, their people, and their legacy. This cataclysm, scientists believe, may have inspired the flood myths found in over 600 cultures worldwide. From the Epic of Gilgamesh to Noah's Ark, the same story repeats. A great flood destroys a once great civilization. Could these ancient tales be humanity's collective memory of that lost age? The timing aligns too perfectly to ignore. It was as if our ancestors tried to preserve fragments of what came before, encoded in myth, religion, and legend, the only way they could. Survivors of that disaster may have scattered across the world, carrying fragments of their culture and knowledge. This could explain the sudden appearance of agriculture, astronomy, and architecture in isolated regions shortly afterward. In Egypt, Sumer, and the Indus Valley, civilizations seemed to bloom fully formed, without clear developmental roots. Perhaps these were not the beginnings of civilization, but the rebirth of one that came before. In Egypt, for example, the sudden emergence of hieroglyphs, mathematics, and advanced engineering has long puzzled scholars. How did a society seemingly leap from nomadic life to pyramid construction within a few centuries? Some researchers now suggest Egypt inherited fragments of knowledge from an earlier culture, one whose memory faded over time. If true, the first civilization we've always credited might only be a shadow of something older. Ancient maps also fuel the mystery. The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica centuries before its discovery. The map's creator claimed he compiled it from older sources. If true, those sources predate our known civilizations by thousands of years. It suggests an ancient global awareness of geography and navigation, possible only with advanced understanding, or ancient maritime exploration. And then there are the megalithic structures found across the world. From Stonehenge to the temples of Malta, from Easter Island to the underwater ruins of Yonaguni in Japan, all share mathematical precision, astronomical alignment, and inexplicable construction methods. Some even appear to date back to the same mysterious window of time, just after the Ice Age. How did unconnected peoples create similar monuments with similar techniques? The answer may lie in a shared origin, a once unified civilization now lost to the sea. Many now look toward the ocean for answers. Beneath the waves of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans lie vast structures resembling ruins. Sonar scans have revealed massive rectangular formations and submerged roads deep below modern sea level. While skeptics attribute them to natural geology, some marine archaeologists are not so sure. What if these were once thriving cities, swallowed by rising waters as glaciers melted? Could this be the final resting place of the lost civilization? As the evidence mounts, a new field of inquiry has emerged: catastrophism, the idea that sudden, global disasters reset human history. The more we study Earth's past, the more we realize that civilizations might have risen and fallen more than once. What we call prehistory might not be a void, but a cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Humanity may have built wonders long before Egypt or Sumer, only to lose it all to nature's fury. Modern scientists now use satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar to uncover hidden ruins across deserts and jungles. In places like the Sahara, what was once thought to be endless sand hides evidence of rivers, cities, and trade routes. In the Amazon, LiDAR technology has revealed entire lost cities beneath the forest canopy. Each discovery pushes civilization further back in time, closer to the forgotten world that started it all. Even the Sahara itself might hold the key. Once a lush and fertile land, it could have supported vast populations before turning into desert. Ancient maps describe an inland sea and sprawling river systems that no longer exist. The fabled Eye of the Sahara, or Rickhat structure, perfectly matches Plato's description of Atlantis: circular, multi-ringed, and once surrounded by water. Coincidence, or proof that the world's oldest civilization met its end there? Plato's tale of Atlantis, often dismissed as myth, suddenly seems less fictional when viewed through this lens. He described a powerful civilization that existed 9,000 years before Solon, roughly 11,600 years ago, precisely at the end of the Ice Age. The timeline matches the Younger Dryas catastrophe. Could Plato's Atlantis have been the last echo of that lost world? Not a single city, but a network of cultures wiped out together? Every piece of evidence, from the ancient carvings of Göbekli Tepe to the mysterious ruins under the sea, points to one haunting conclusion. We are not the first advanced civilization on Earth. We may only be the latest chapter in a story that began long before recorded history. The traces are faint, the proof incomplete, but the patterns are undeniable. A civilization older than Egypt once thrived, achieved wonders beyond imagination, and then vanished, leaving only whispers of what once was. If such a civilization once existed, its fingerprints would not vanish completely. They would linger in myths, in architecture, and in unexplained knowledge. Across continents, ancient traditions share strikingly similar stories. Gods descending from the sky, teaching humanity agriculture, astronomy, and law. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki. The Egyptians told tales of Thoth. The Mayans worshipped Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent who brought knowledge. Different names, same story, beings of great wisdom arriving after a catastrophe. Were they gods or survivors from the forgotten civilization, spreading what they could remember? Mainstream historians often argue that these parallels are mere coincidence, products of human imagination seeking patterns in chaos. Yet, when one looks deeper, the consistency is eerie. From South America to Mesopotamia, the stories align. A golden age destroyed by water and fire, followed by the rebirth of humankind guided by wise teachers. If this pattern were isolated, it could be dismissed. but it repeats globally. It's as if humanity carries an inherited memory, one carved into our collective consciousness, whispering of a world long gone. Language itself may carry traces of this lost era. Linguists studying ancient scripts have found structural similarities between languages separated by oceans. Symbols in Proto-Sumerian, Indus Valley, and even Mesoamerican glyphs share uncanny visual patterns. While mainstream academia attributes this to coincidence, others see it as evidence of an ancient root language, a linguistic ancestor spoken before continents divided. If true, it would mean our words, even today, echo the voices of a people who lived before history began. Archaeological anomalies also challenge accepted history. Take the Sacsayhuaman fortress in Peru. Its megalithic walls composed of stones weighing hundreds of tons, fitted so precisely that not even a razor blade can pass between them. No one knows how they were shaped, lifted, or aligned. Modern engineers admit that even with today's technology, replicating such precision would be nearly impossible. Were the builders inheritors of a forgotten technology, remnants of a lost civilization's engineering mastery? Similarly, in Egypt's Osirian temple, located at Abydos, archaeologists found structures cut deep into bedrock, older than the dynasties above it. The stonework there differs drastically from later Egyptian styles, more primitive in age, but far more advanced in execution. The temple seems like a relic of an earlier era that Egypt built upon, not created from scratch. If so, then Egypt might not have been the birthplace of civilization, but a beneficiary of one that came before. The same mystery extends to Puma Punku, part of Bolivia's ancient Tiwanaku complex. The stones there are carved with machine-like precision, interlocking in geometric perfection. Some show drill holes and laser-straight cuts, methods unknown to the people we believe built them. Yet radiocarbon evidence suggests the site could date back to 15,000 years ago. Mainstream historians struggle to explain it, while alternative researchers argue it's clear evidence of an earlier, technologically capable culture wiped away by cataclysm. Everywhere we look, traces appear, not in one place or one culture, but scattered, as if remnants of a puzzle humanity forgot how to solve. Perhaps this is why so many civilizations spoke of cycles: creation, destruction, and rebirth. The Maya, Hindu, and Egyptian cosmologies all reference recurring ages, epochs where humanity rises to greatness, only to fall and begin again. Could we be living in just another cycle, unaware that we are walking over the buried bones of those who came before? Modern technology is now catching up to ancient mystery. With LiDAR scanning, underwater drones, and AI-assisted archaeology, researchers are uncovering more anomalies each year. Entire cities submerged beneath the coasts of India, Japan, and Cuba. Some structures, like those off the Gulf of Cambay in India, are over 9,000 years old. That's thousands of years before Egypt's first pharaohs. The more we look, the older civilization seems to become. It's as if history is peeling back its own layers, revealing a truth we're only beginning to comprehend. But what's most haunting is what we don't find. No names, no written records, no monuments with clear messages. It's as though this ancient civilization wanted to erase itself or was wiped so completely that only its architecture survived. Could they have foreseen their own destruction? Some theorize they buried sites like Gobekli Tepe intentionally, perhaps to protect sacred knowledge from the coming flood. If true, then somewhere beneath the earth, other buried cities may still sleep, time capsules of a forgotten world waiting to be found. In the end, the story of this lost civilization challenges more than our history books. It challenges our identity. We are taught that civilization began 5,000 years ago, yet evidence whispers otherwise. What if humanity has risen and fallen many times? What if the monuments we admire today are merely echoes of a greater age, one erased by water, fire, and time? The thought humbles us. It reminds us that history is not linear, but circular, and that our greatest mystery may not be what lies ahead, but what we've already forgotten. To understand how an entire civilization could vanish, we must look to the Earth itself, the ultimate record keeper. Beneath ice cores, sediment layers, and fossilized shorelines lies evidence of immense planetary upheaval around 12,000 years ago. The geological record tells a story of sudden floods, continent-wide fires, and rapid sea level rise. Over 10 million square miles of habitable land were lost beneath the waves. If an advanced society existed then, its cities would have been among those drowned coastlines, now hidden hundreds of meters below today's oceans. Unreachable, but not impossible to find. Oceanographers have long known that sea levels rose more than 400 feet after the last ice age. Vast regions that once hosted human settlements are now submerged continental shelves. The Sunda Shelf in Southeast Asia, the Doggerland between Britain and Europe, and the Beringia land bridge. In each of these regions, ancient tools, hearths, and bones have been discovered underwater. These are not myths. They are evidence that entire cultures were swallowed whole by the oceans. The lost civilization may not be gone. It may simply be waiting beneath the waves. One of the most compelling underwater discoveries is off the coast of Cuba, where sonar mapping in 2001 revealed massive geometric structures nearly 2,000 feet below the surface. The formations appeared to include pyramids, roads, and plazas, eerily similar to ancient city designs. While skeptics insist the structures are natural formations, the layout suggests otherwise. If verified, it would push the origins of civilization back by at least 7,000 years, rewriting not just one chapter, but the entire book of human history. Further east, off the coast of India, the Gulf of Cambay yielded another astonishing discovery. Sonar scans revealed a sprawling underwater city covering 5 square miles, complete with walls, streets, and artifacts. Carbon dating of samples found there suggests human activity as old as 9,500 BCE, the same period as Gobekli Tepe. The implications are staggering. How could multiple advanced sites, separated by continents, exist at the same time and then disappear together? Perhaps they were all fragments of one global civilization shattered by catastrophe. Some scientists believe the trigger was a cosmic impact, a comet or asteroid striking Earth at the end of the Ice Age. Evidence of nanodiamonds, melted glass, and widespread carbon layers has been found across North America and parts of Europe, consistent with a massive explosion in the atmosphere. This event, known as the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, could explain the sudden cooling, floods, and mass extinctions that followed. If such an impact occurred, it would have devastated coastal cities, erasing any trace of advanced human life. In this context, the flood myths of ancient cultures take on new meaning. From the Bible's Noah to Utnapishtim of Mesopotamia and Deucalion of Greece, the tales describe not just divine punishment, but survival, the preservation of knowledge through chosen few. Some historians suggest these stories may originate from first-hand memories of survivors, those who witnessed the world drown. To them, the deluge was not legend. It was apocalypse, and their retelling of it was the only way to keep the memory of the old world alive. What if those survivors became the seed of the civilizations we know today? As refugees from the cataclysm migrated inland, they would have brought fragments of their old knowledge, astronomy, agriculture, architecture, rebuilding what they once had. This could explain why early civilizations like Sumer, Egypt, and the Indus Valley seem to appear fully developed, as if awakening from amnesia. They were not starting from nothing, they were remembering. Humanity, in a sense, was rebuilding a memory of itself. Even ancient texts seem to hint at this inheritance. The emerald tablets of Thoth, for example, speak of an ancient race that guided Egypt's founders after a great flood. The Popol Vuh of the Mayans recounts gods who measured the heavens and taught men wisdom after the destruction of a former world. The Hindu Puranas describe multiple cycles of civilization, each ending in flood and fire. Across every continent, the message is the same. The world has been destroyed before and rebuilt. This idea unsettles modern science because it redefines what it means to be ancient. If humanity reached high levels of development once before, it forces us to ask, could it happen again, or could it already be happening? Technology today grows at a speed unseen in history, Yet the ruins whisper that others once stood where we are now. They built, they thrived, they believed their achievements eternal, until nature reminded them that eternity is an illusion. Their story could be our warning. Perhaps that's why the earth guards its secrets so tightly, not to hide them, but to protect us from forgetting. Every ruin we uncover, every myth we decode, is a mirror reflecting our potential and our fragility. A civilization older than Egypt may have once spanned the world, only to vanish without a trace. But maybe its greatest legacy isn't lost knowledge. It's the lesson it left behind, that progress without humility is fleeting, and that time will always reclaim what it lends. The question remains, will we remember what they forgot? As technology advances, the search for this lost civilization has entered a new era. Oceanic expeditions, equipped with high-resolution sonar and submersible drones, now scan the seafloor with unprecedented clarity. Hidden beneath miles of sediment, they have discovered symmetrical structures, strange grid patterns, and formations resembling harbors and pyramids. Scientists are cautious, but the evidence is mounting. Each discovery brings us closer to proving that advanced societies existed during a time when mainstream history claims humanity was still wandering in tribes. The oceans, once barriers, are becoming archives, vast libraries preserving the story of a forgotten world. The quest isn't just scientific, it's personal. For many researchers, uncovering this lost civilization feels like uncovering humanity's own buried memory. It challenges our deepest assumptions about who we are and where we come from. Every artifact unearthed, every megalith, every carving, every submerged ruin tells us we've underestimated our ancestors. They were not primitive savages stumbling through darkness. They were thinkers, builders, and dreamers, no different from us, yet wiped clean by forces beyond control. To rediscover them is to rediscover the human spirit itself. Even more astonishing is the growing evidence of ancient technology. Researchers studying stonework at sites like Baalbek and Pumapunku report levels of precision suggesting advanced tools. The perfectly flat surfaces, sharp inner angles, and laser straight lines raise questions no chisel or hammer can answer. Could ancient engineers have possessed techniques we've since lost? Some believe these civilizations harnessed natural energies, magnetism, acoustics, or even resonance to move and shape stone. If true, it would mean our ancestors tapped into scientific principles long before modern physics gave them names. Yet not all knowledge is physical. Some of the most profound evidence lies in ancient cosmology, the way early civilizations understood the universe. The builders of Göbekli Tepe aligned their temples with star constellations. The Egyptians mirrored the pyramids with Orion's belt. The Maya tracked Venus with mathematical perfection. These were not coincidences. They point to a shared, global understanding of the heavens. Was this the legacy of the forgotten civilization, an ancient science of the stars passed down through ages, disguised as myth and religion? Patterns in architecture also reveal connections across time and distance. The step pyramids of Egypt, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the temples of Mesoamerica, all follow the same geometric logic. Cultures that supposedly never met built structures of identical design and purpose. Mainstream historians claim it's convergence. The humans simply think alike. But perhaps it's remembrance, a subconscious echo of a shared blueprint inherited from a lost age. These monuments could be humanity's collective memory made stone, each one a fragment of a forgotten manual for building civilization itself. Even mythic symbols seem to tie it all together. The serpent, for instance, appears universally as a guardian of wisdom, a bringer of knowledge. From the Naga of India to the feathered serpent of Mesoamerica, the motif repeats endlessly. The eye, the sun disk, the tree of life, all symbols found in distant lands separated by oceans. Were these coincidences or remnants of a shared belief system born in an earlier epoch? If these motifs predate recorded history, then symbolism itself might be a language left behind by the ancients, a code humanity still speaks without understanding. As evidence accumulates, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. History, as we know it, is incomplete. Each discovery adds another missing page to a book we're only beginning to read. The farther we dig, the more we realize our story didn't start in Mesopotamia or Egypt. It began long before, in an age erased by time. Perhaps the very term prehistory is misleading. There may have been no beginning, only a continuum, civilizations rising, falling, and rising again, each leaving traces for the next to find. This realization carries both wonder and warning. If nature has reset humanity before, it can do so again. Climate change, rising seas, and shifting poles remind us that the planet's balance is fragile. The ancients may have once faced a catastrophe of their own making, deforestation, overpopulation, or warfare, magnified by natural disaster. Their downfall may hold lessons for us today. The more we learn about them, the clearer it becomes that their fate might not be distant history, but a reflection of our future if we do not listen. Philosophers have long said that knowledge is cyclical, that what was lost will be found again. Perhaps this is the destiny of humankind, to rediscover what it once knew, to rebuild what was once destroyed. The traces of the lost civilization, from Göbekli Tepe stones to the myths of Atlantis, may not just be historical clues, but spiritual markers, calling us to remember who we truly are. In seeking them, we may rediscover not only our origins, but our purpose, the drive to create, endure, and begin again. And so, the question remains, what truly happened to the civilization older than Egypt that vanished without a trace? Was it erased by cosmic fire, drowned by the rising seas, or undone by its own hubris? We may never know the full story, but its silence speaks volumes. Beneath the oceans, beneath the sand, and perhaps even within our myths, its memory still breathes. It waits for us, not to mourn it, but to learn from it. Because if history truly repeats itself, then perhaps the next lost civilization could be our own. Archaeologists began to wonder, could this unknown civilization have been wiped out not by war, but by something greater? Evidence of massive flooding, deep layers of silt, and collapsed structures hinted at natural disaster on a global scale. Some hypothesize that a colossal tsunami or shifting tectonic plates buried their cities beneath oceans and deserts alike. The remains of Gobekli Tepe and other similar sites may simply be the few survivors of a world once bustling with ancient humanity. Yet, even with all the destruction, one mystery endures. How did such intelligence exist so early in human history? Ancient myths from around the world speak of floods that destroyed earlier worlds, the Sumerian, the Mayan, even the Aboriginal legends of Australia. Could they all be fragmented memories of this lost age? These parallels across cultures separated by oceans raise unsettling questions. Were our ancestors remembering a shared trauma, a cataclysm that wiped clean the slate of civilization? If so, what survived may be only whispers, fragments of stone, forgotten symbols, and stories passed through the ages. It's as if humanity was forced to start over, with only echoes of what once was. Satellite imaging has uncovered curious patterns beneath the sands of Turkey and Iraq, geometric shapes, perfectly aligned circles, and buried foundations that stretch for miles. Some researchers believe these are remnants of lost cities from this mysterious era, predating Egypt by thousands of years. Yet the more technology advances, the deeper the mystery grows. For every discovery, a dozen new questions arise. Why were these structures intentionally buried? Who ordered such precision work? And why hide it from the future? The closer we get to answers, the more the past seems determined to remain silent. One of the most intriguing discoveries came from microscopic analysis of stone tools and carvings. Some showed patterns so fine that modern instruments struggled to replicate them. How could a Stone Age culture have achieved such craftsmanship? The conclusion stunned scientists. They possessed advanced knowledge of geometry, vibration, and perhaps even metallurgy. This wasn't the work of primitive hunter-gatherers. Whoever they were, they understood their world at a level we never expected. It forces us to reconsider what ancient truly means, and whether civilization's story really began in Egypt or much earlier. There's an eerie similarity between these findings and the myths of gods descending from the sky to teach early humans agriculture, astronomy, and architecture. Ancient Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki. Others called them watchers or teachers. Could these stories be remnants of encounters with this lost civilization? Or perhaps with its survivors spreading knowledge after catastrophe struck? It's possible that the world's first gods were simply advanced humans who remembered what the rest of humanity had forgotten. If true, then the roots of civilization stretch further into the past than we dare to imagine. Göbekli Tepe, once dismissed as a ceremonial site, now appears to have been part of a complex societal network. Recent excavations hint at roads, smaller settlements, and farming systems nearby, all suggesting an organized culture capable of supporting architects, artists, and priests. This wasn't a single temple in isolation. It was a city center, the heart of something vast. Yet all of it was deliberately buried around 8000 BCE. The question that haunts archaeologists is simple. Why would an advanced people destroy and hide the masterpiece that defined them? Some theorize that the burial was a ritual act, a way of sealing the past after a devastating event. Others believe it was to protect sacred knowledge from outsiders, ensuring it would remain untouched until humanity was ready again. Whatever the reason, their decision worked. The site stayed hidden for nearly 10,000 years, preserved almost perfectly beneath layers of earth. It's as if they left it as a message, a time capsule for the future, silently waiting to be rediscovered when the world could finally understand its meaning. When comparing the alignments of Göbekli Tepe's pillars with the stars, researchers found astonishing correlations with celestial events around 10,000 BCE. The site appears to map the night sky with mathematical precision, tracking solstices and precession cycles. This suggests its builders were expert astronomers, possibly the first in recorded history. It also ties their timeline to a period long before Egypt or Sumer, challenging everything we thought we knew about human development. The sophistication of these sky maps leaves one to wonder. Were they watching the heavens for knowledge or for signs of coming destruction? In a twist of irony, the same earth that buried their achievements may have preserved their memory. Layers of mud, sand, and rock sealed Göbekli Tepe and other sites like a tomb, locking them away from erosion and human interference. What was once a tragedy may now be our greatest gift, an untouched record of a civilization erased too soon. But as more layers are peeled away, archaeologists warn, we may be unearthing truths that redefine human origins entirely. Are we prepared to accept that civilization is far older and more complex than we were taught? The deeper we dig, the clearer one message becomes. History is not a straight line. It's a cycle of rise, fall, and rediscovery. Somewhere in the distant past, a people built wonders beyond comprehension, only to vanish into myth. Their story became gods and legends. Their science turned to magic, and their truth became our mystery. Egypt, Sumer, and all we call ancient might just be the children of something far greater, a civilization older than time itself. And perhaps, beneath the earth and sea, its final chapters still wait to be found. As modern scientists continue to unearth the secrets of Göbekli Tepe and similar sites, a humbling realization begins to take shape. Our ancestors may not have been simple hunters living by instinct. They were thinkers, builders, astronomers, and philosophers who understood the stars and the cycles of time. Their disappearance, rather than marking the beginning of civilization, might have been the end of one. The realization is haunting. Humanity may have forgotten its own origin story, rewriting it through myths and fragments, each generation believing it was the first to rise from the dust. Every new discovery challenges the established timeline of human progress. If a sophisticated civilization thrived 12,000 years ago, what else lies buried beneath deserts, jungles, or ocean floors? The Earth itself hides countless secrets, shifting landscapes, sunken cities, and unexplored ruins beneath layers of sediment. As technology improves, archaeologists are finding that history is far from settled. Ancient maps show coastlines that existed before the last ice age, suggesting that humanity's first great cities may now lie drowned beneath the sea. Are these traces of the same vanished people who once illuminated the world with wisdom we can barely comprehend? The possibility that a global catastrophe wiped out this civilization has led researchers to revisit the Younger Dryas event, a sudden cooling period that began around 10,800 BCE. Evidence points to a massive comet impact that drastically altered the planet's climate. If true, it could explain the simultaneous collapse of early human settlements across continents. Such an event would have caused famine, migration, and chaos on an unimaginable scale. Survivors, scattered across the world, may have carried fragments of their knowledge, planting the seeds that would one day blossom into Egypt, Sumer, and the Indus Valley. Imagine the trauma of watching your world crumble, cities swallowed by water, skies darkened by ash, and the constellations shifting above you. Those who lived through it would have seen the gods themselves as angry or silent. The survivors might have encoded their memories into myths, preserving the story in metaphors, floods, divine wrath, or the fall of man. In truth, those myths may not have been allegories at all, but desperate attempts to record what they saw. What we now call legend might, in fact, be eyewitness history, the last words of a lost world. Yet amid all the uncertainty, one theme remains constant: human resilience. Even after the cataclysm, remnants of this civilization may have rebuilt in isolated pockets, preserving fragments of science, language, and agriculture. Their descendants became teachers to the tribes who followed, guiding humanity back toward order. This could explain why the earliest known civilizations appeared suddenly, with complex systems already in place. Egypt, Sumer, and Mesoamerica might not have been spontaneous miracles of progress, but echoes of an older, greater age whose memory faded over millennia. Some scholars have even suggested that the pyramids, megaliths, and ziggurats of later civilizations were not inventions, but reconstructions, reinterpretations of architectural blueprints passed down through oral tradition. The precision of these structures, their astronomical alignments, and their global similarities may all point to a shared ancestral source. How else can we explain the uncanny parallels between Egypt's pyramids, the temples of Mesoamerica, and the stone cities of Asia? Across oceans and time, the same patterns repeat, as though humanity were trying to remember something it had once known but long forgotten. Today, the idea of a lost advanced civilization remains controversial, rejected by many mainstream scholars as speculation. Yet the physical evidence keeps growing. Massive stonework, unexplained technology, and carbon-dated ruins that refuse to fit the accepted timeline. Science demands proof, but history whispers in fragments. Perhaps we're standing at the edge of a revelation too vast for conventional models. What if the real story of civilization isn't about slow progress, but about recovery, rebuilding after a fall so great it erased nearly everything humanity had achieved? If so, then our understanding of human evolution must change completely. Civilization may not have begun 5,000 years ago. It may have restarted. Each rediscovery, from fire to writing to the wheel, could be echoes of knowledge once known and lost. The cycle of creation and collapse might be part of humanity's very nature. This idea, once dismissed as myth, now finds unexpected support in geology, genetics, and archaeology. The more we uncover, the more it seems that our ancestors were not the beginning of something, but the continuation of something far older. This realization forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. If a civilization so advanced could vanish without a trace, what does that mean for ours? Could the same fate await us, buried beneath time, misunderstood by future generations? History, it seems, is not a straight road, but a spiral, always returning to the same point. The people of Gobekli Tepe, the builders of forgotten cities, and the dreamers of vanished lands might once have stood where we stand now, gazing at the stars, believing their legacy would endure forever. And yet, time consumed them all. As night falls over the Anatolian hills, the stones of Gobekli Tepe still stand, silent, unyielding, and timeless. They whisper of a world we barely remember, of hands that shaped history before history began. Their makers are gone, their names erased, but their message endures in every carving and every mystery. They remind us that knowledge is fragile and that the earth forgets easily. Perhaps the true lesson of this vanished civilization is not their greatness, but their humility, a warning that even the mightiest of worlds can disappear without a trace. In the grand halls of museums and research institutes, scholars still debate the meaning of Gobekli Tepe and its forgotten kin. Some see them as sacred spaces, others as observatories, and a few whisper that they were archives, repositories of knowledge built to outlast disaster. Whatever the truth, these stones endure like a riddle carved into the bones of the earth. Their builders seem to have known that time erases everything, and yet they tried to leave something behind, something meant for us, the distant future, to find and question. Perhaps that was their true legacy, curiosity. The more we learn, the more our arrogance fades. We once thought history began with the pharaohs and kings, that progress was a straight line leading to us, the modern age. But the stones tell another story. They whisper that we are not the first nor the last. Civilizations rise, they shine, and then they fall, leaving only ruins to tell their tales. Our achievements, our skyscrapers, satellites, and servers may one day become the new relics buried beneath the sands, studied by eyes not yet born, wondering who we were and how we disappeared. Every culture has a myth of the Golden Age, a time when humans lived in harmony with the earth, guided by wisdom beyond understanding. Perhaps that age truly existed, not as fantasy, but as memory. The builders of Gobekli Tepe may have been the last guardians of that age, striving to preserve the fragments of a fading world. In their silence, they left us a question more profound than any discovery. If knowledge can vanish once, could it vanish again? And if it does, who will remember that we were ever here at all? Modern technology, with all its brilliance, mirrors the same ambition once held by these ancient people: to understand the universe, to master time, and to leave behind a mark that endures. Yet, as we look deeper into the past, we are reminded of how fragile even the greatest civilizations are. Flood, fire, or the simple erosion of time can erase entire worlds. The ancients seemed to know this, which is why they built in stone. We, however, build in data, something even more fleeting. When the next cycle begins, what will remain of us? If history truly moves in cycles, then the disappearance of one civilization may simply mark the birth of another. Each generation inherits the ashes of the last, learns what it can, and begins again. The civilization older than Egypt might not be gone entirely. It may live on in us. Their instincts, their questions, their hunger for discovery might be written in our very DNA. We are perhaps not the descendants of primitive tribes, but the children of survivors, those who once looked upon a dying world and chose to begin again. In that light, Gobekli Tepe is not just a ruin. It's a message in a bottle sent across millennia. Its carvings, its impossible architecture, and its deliberate burial all tell us one thing. Remember us. Remember that you're not the first to dream, to build, or to fall. Remember that every age believes it will last forever, until the earth reminds it otherwise. These stones are not relics of superstition, but monuments to hope, The hope that someone, someday, would uncover them and wonder, just as we do now. Even now, new sites emerge from the ground across the Middle East, Asia, and South America, each older, stranger, and more complex than the last. As we unearth these forgotten worlds, we're forced to rewrite not just history, but identity itself. Who are we, if not the continuation of something ancient and unfinished? The line between myth and memory blurs with every discovery. Maybe Atlantis, Lemuria, or the lost city of the gods were never myths at all, just names for civilizations swallowed by time, waiting to be remembered. The greatest irony is that the deeper we dig into the earth, the higher our questions rise. What if intelligence is not a product of time, but a rhythm, appearing, disappearing, and reappearing like tides? What if civilization itself is a recurring dream humanity keeps waking from, only to forget, then rediscover? Perhaps the ruins we find are not just evidence of who they were, but a mirror showing us who we are. The ancient builders remind us that knowledge without humility is fragile, and that forgetting is the one thing humans do best. So, as archaeologists brush dust from stones once touched by hands 12,000 years ago, they aren't just uncovering history. They're uncovering warning signs. Every pillar, every carving, every buried secret whispers the same truth, that no civilization, no matter how great, is immune to oblivion. The world remembers only what it chooses to. And as the earth slowly reclaims our cities and monuments, we might one day be nothing more than a layer in its soil, waiting for another future race to ask the same haunting question. Who were they? In the end, the civilization older than Egypt that vanished without a trace is more than a story. It's a mirror reflecting our fragile existence. Somewhere beneath the sands and oceans, their legacy sleeps, waiting for us to listen. They built so we might remember. And now, it's our turn to keep their memory alive, to question what we think we know, and to protect the fragile thread that connects us to the past. Because one day, our own ruins may tell the next civilization story. The only question is, will they remember us?